You can do it.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to try to say what Danny says. It's Tuesday night, so it must be Idle Zone time. What's up, Jack, Justin, Dennis, Matt? Our regulars. Justin
We
got in there right away.
we had a race to get first this time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. So Danny's having a little bit of still tape delay issues, so we're still trying to figure out Danny. It's not super bad, is it now, Danny?
All of us.
I guess it is.
No, it's not nearly like it was last week or the week before. I am cutting out though, and maybe not to you guys, but to me, it just freezes for like 10, 15 seconds at a time. I don't know what's up. I don't have anything other than my laptop connected to our Wi-Fi at the moment. So anyway, so I'm going to sit over here and hide from that dude with the tinfoil hat in my closet.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, if you're asking my opinion, DB, you sound fine, but you know, the show must go on, I guess. I hate saying that about it, but dadgum, bud.
Yeah, it's not near as bad as it was last week. So if you do, just hop in if you want to say something, and we'll shut up.
Wow. Okay. Cool. And for later on, after the special guest, I have a special treat, a new item here on the Idle Zone Syndicate. Viewer mail.
Viewer mail.
Wow.
Outstanding.
Well, all right. Well, real quick, like we're going to kind of change the format up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've been this first part of the show been talking about local stuff and jacking around for 15 minutes before we bring our guest on, but we're going to change that up a little bit. We're going to bring on our guest pretty quick, but so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kiki, and he can do the stats and introduce our guest for tonight.
Well, you know, we got somebody on this week that's been looking forward to a little bit younger generation, but he's got 2 classic belts under his title. So, like I said, yeah, he won the first ever Bass Pro Tour on Kissimmee in Florida. 2-time back-to-back classic champion. Pretty awesome stat, if you ask me, from Coleman, Alabama. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jordan Lee.
What is going on, boys?
Mr. Jordan, how are you, buddy?
Yes, sir. John, good to see you, man.
It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. When you texted me the other day, I was pretty stoked to hear. I mean, I was happy to hear from you. I know it's been a while. I wasn't sure where you were at in the country, but I've kind of narrowed it down now. You're either in Kansas or Grand Lake. So just based off what I read.
I am at Grand Lake, the Lake Lodge at Grand Lake in the Cherokees.
Gotcha.
Is our resort. Fish camp, whatever you want to call it. We kind of cater to the tournament angler.
Wedding venue
now. We booked our first wedding over the weekend. So
nice.
We're going to have a wedding this fall. out by the sewer pond. It's going to be pretty cool.
That'll be
I
cool.
think. It will be cool. If I
Oh,
remember, hopefully I'll remember to, I'm sure Val will remind me to turn off the septic aerator because that's the area where they're going to kind of be. So I really don't want that coming on during the middle of the wedding.
No. Yeah, you're gonna have to dial that in a little bit.
Yeah, that would not be good. Not be good at all.
So you worked. So what years did you work at Bassmaster? Obviously, when I was there, you were there, but I can't remember when you left, or I just can't remember what years you worked there.
I worked there from 2004 to 2022.
22. Okay.
22 is when I left.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Why was that in quotations?
When I left.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Really wasn't planning on leaving it in 22.
Yeah.
but
Okay.
We left.
We left. Yeah. Okay. I didn't. Yeah. That's it. That's a good way of saying it. I mean,
Most people.
I've gotten fired before. It ain't no big deal to me. I mean, so
It's
there's
not
always
a big deal anymore, and there's nobody. The good thing about it is nobody can fire me except for my wife now.
That's right.
So
You're done.
at least that's
right.
the way I'm planning on ending our career is being my own boss now. So
I like that.
no, it was good. It was good. A lot of the elite guys, and were you back yet in 22?
No, this was my first year back, but
yeah.
Obviously I was around you a lot, until I left, and then when I came back last year, I knew you weren't working there, but I didn't know what year.
Yeah, it was 22.
Gotcha.
And a lot of the elite guys, really didn't know what happened or that I left, or half of them. I ran into Jason Christie on the ramp here, like in 2000, like in 23, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He was practicing for the classic, and he's like, "What are you doing? Spying on me, checking on me, make sure I'm doing the." I'm like, "Dude, I haven't worked at Bass for a year," and he's like, "What?"
Yeah, he didn't even know. Yeah.
No. So, anyway,
I gotcha.
what have you been doing? Is it cold there?
Man, I was in Florida. I was in Okeechobee yesterday, and I looked around for a couple days down that area, and then yesterday morning I went out to the lake for a couple hours and drove 10 and a half hours home. Was here by about 9:00 last night, and yeah, I was down in Florida last week for 4 or 5 days. But other than that, man, just not anything crazy. That was my first kind of trip. Well, went to Texas a couple weeks back, but nothing crazy to really talk about. Just trying to get ready for the year. It's a process for us to get everything kind of just organized for the year and getting ready to go, because it is a long spring, lot of time gone, so you just want to make sure everything's dialed in. But it's cold here now. I mean, yeah, you can't really do much. I think it's going to be 8 degrees tonight, just like the rest of the country. So
Yep.
You just make the best of it and
Yep.
do as much as you can. But yeah, I got a 3-year-old, so he keeps us busy. He's wide open, and we're stay-at-home parent. I mean, she's a stay-at-home mom. He's never, gone to daycare or anything like that. So he's with us every day, all day, which is great. But that does keep your hands full. You're cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or figuring out how to get it. So that's a lot of time right there. But it is really cool to be, to have the opportunity to be around him so much.
Yeah. So what is the process for you? Season ends, chill a little bit, and then when do you start doing what?
Yeah, really. It's kind of being a professional angler is weird, and everybody's different on what they do. I don't really hunt a lot. A lot of guys have hunting deals or they like to hunt. I've never been a big deer hunter. And, really when the off season, like when we get done with our last tournament, okay, it's like, how can I really, stay relevant in fishing? Because that's what I get paid to do, is to fish, and to nowadays, like, the content is pretty much where it's at. That's what companies want to see, and that's just the best way to stay relevant. And I'm not like, I've invested a little bit more time this fall, going into the winter, really just going out, trying to, fish, trying to make something, make videos, picking out the interesting clips of the day. I don't have like a camera person that I pay, because I never really, outside of one person, which was Tyler Anderson, which is he's a YouTuber, I guess you would say, and filmed for Alton. I mean, he made great videos and some really good stuff, but I can do it on my own. It's just me doing the time. And so that's what I've been doing, really, is just filming and, posting videos. And that's really our main, I guess, purpose in the off season, is just to make, create content.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions: is do you do it yourself, or do you have a crew? I've got no idea. What's a guy that has his own crew? We should have asked Brandon this, but what's something like that cost?
It costs. I'll tell you what.
How do you pay for that? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys, man. They're paying 40, 50, probably upwards to, I would say, 40 and 50 is pretty standard, I feel like. But there's guys, I think, that pay probably 70 to, Scott Martin, he probably pays the most out of anybody, because he has his own, like, I had no clue what he pays. This is just a guess.
Yeah.
But it's probably close to six figures, I would say. Just
he's got like guys that are following him on the water, or like during tournaments and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's all out. Like, he has two or three guys that come with him. I'm not sure on that, too, probably. Very high, expensive equipment. They're running, they're making like movies. He's got an editor. That costs a lot of money. But I know rookies that paid 40, maybe a little less than that, but 40,000 a year, because they think they have to, which I never. Wow. But I've noticed a lot over the content, creation. Like, I think more or less now, the tournaments, I think people don't really engage as much with that as much as they do maybe, this time of year, or not just anything that's not a tournament. I think people, I don't know if they've gotten burned out of the tournaments. They still like to watch them. But I think there's so much of that. And unless you're probably, a really known fisherman, I think you're better off really just filming different, whether you fish around the house or just messing around or talking about, talking like to a buddy just like this.
Yeah. Yeah. So how much of your income, like, I'm not asking for dollars, but how much of your income comes from social media versus sponsorship versus just like winnings?
Yeah. Man, it's been pretty crazy, like starting out. I've been in it now probably 10 or 11 years. And, starting out, it was really sponsorship was just barely covering or not even covering the entry fees for the year and for the Bassmaster circuit. And, it took several years and in, probably 2-3 years, and then winning the classics really, at that time I felt like it was a perfect storm for me. And I got an opportunity with, Carhartt was there from the beginning and got to grow with him a little bit. And so that helped just growing. And I remember them paying me like $50,000 one year. When, I'm probably 25 years old at the time. And I remember that being like, just, oh, wow. Like, that wasn't just straight to my pocketbook because, we have so many expenses.
Mm-hmm.
You're spending so much throughout a year, like 50,000 really, you can eat that up in one night booking Airbnbs.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like, so it's really not that much money traveling around and stuff. But I remember that deal was like, I was like, man, that's a big deal. That was a big deal for me at the time. But after winning the second classic, I got opportunity with Pure Fishing, and it was just like a perfect, storm out. And they were looking to, find new guys, and they had new ownership and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really helped out financially. So now really it's probably, I would say 3/4 or more, or I would say, yeah, something like that probably is my sponsorship, and I don't even know really what I make. I don't really pay attention to money. Like I'm not a penny pincher.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really even know what I make, until the end of the year. My financial advisor and he just tells me how much money I got to pay in taxes. But I'm not sitting there like, oh, I got this much from this sponsor.
Yeah.
I know, but I would say somewhere around 3/4 of my income is, sponsorships. And then, I've had a great career. I got a little anxiety every year I go into a tournament, season, because you don't know how you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, up to this point, it's really, man, I've had some great tournaments, great years fishing out there. So
what is your approach every year when the season starts? Like, what are your goals?
I don't know. I don't know if I have goals to start the year. I really just try to go out every tournament and make some, you want to have a great tournament every time you go out. Obviously, that's not going to happen every time. I'm pretty hard on myself when it comes to the tournaments, whether I catch them. I'm generally happy with when I beat half the field. And, when you finish in the lower half to the bottom, I'm pretty hard on myself, but you just try to learn from that. And that's the cool thing about fishing. And now just with the talent and how hard it is out there, man, it's just staying up to par is just getting harder and harder and harder. So, yeah, I mean, it's for me, the goal is just to make like the classic, now fishing Bassmaster. Making that every year is it's just getting harder, and if you do make it, man, you had a pretty solid year.
Yeah.
So that's really my goal that was coming into this year. And
make the classic first thing. I just didn't know whether some guys are, I think you're at the point in your career with sponsorships are, good enough where you're not like you're not saying I got to make it like I've got to make a check this week, so.
Yeah. And that's the one thing I'm going to start, there's certain tournaments where you kind of know, like, man, I'm not going to have really a shot to win this tournament. I've done this long enough, but there's really all the tournaments that I've won, I've kind of felt like, hey, I can probably win this tournament, or at least over the last probably 3 or 4 years. I've just had that feeling like I either found something special or, and the rest of the tournaments, I'm like, this could be okay. But yeah, when you're in those positions, it's like you really want to make the most of it in a big tournament.
Have you noticed that you kind of win all the big tournaments? Like,
I mean, yeah, I don't know, like the recent win was down there at Kissimmee with the heavy hitters and the
Mhm.
frog, and that was probably one of the most fun tournaments, and I would say the most exciting tournaments just for me, like to win, even probably over the classics, just how fun it was all week to catch them like that. But yeah, I mean, I got super fortunate with those classics. It was just a perfect. It is the stars lined up. God bless me, those 2 tournaments. I mean, it's crazy in my perspective for those. I mean, a lot of people may say that, if they won a tournament, but those were really like guys really struggled. Both tournaments the last day, and man, it just fell in my lap. Like you're supposed to win this, but
I mean, you broke down on the winning
yeah,
bag of fish.
yeah. I mean, that tournament was crazy. The first classic, being 14 pounds back the last day, and I caught pretty good catch the second day with 4 fish. I had 3 fish the first day, but I fished that spot every day. The first day, several times, never caught one. Second day, I fished it several times. Finally started catching them. And the third day, I was running there. My motor, is slowly decreasing RPMs. It just goes from, I remember vividly, it hadn't been that long ago, but it was going like 60, 59, 58, 57, 56, 55, 54, 53, 52, 51. And I'm like, man, something's bad messed up. But I kept my foot, I'm probably 5 miles away. I kept my foot hammered down, just pinned. I wasn't letting off of it. And I had to make it to this bridge. And if I made it to that bridge, I could at least trolling motor there. So I remember getting to that bridge and my motor just like shaking and just, blah, blah, blah. It just sounded terrible. And it was I think if I remember correctly, it was the fuel diaphragm. If anybody's familiar with motors, but it was just toast. But yeah, I idled over that spot, man, and just, I couldn't move. And it was the winning hole. So
yeah, it was awesome. It was quite the story.
Yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, I've been fortunate for sure over the years with just really cool tournaments like that. That just, it's awesome.
I kind of stole your. I didn't do what we said we were going to do, Kyle.
You're fine, bud.
I said we were going to go right into your questions. Go ahead.
No. I'm carrying along because I'm just as interested as you about some of the stuff that you've already asked. So, me personally, Jordan, I watch a ton of your social media videos and stuff like that, and I think it's pretty neat. So, can you talk about some of the stuff that you filmed, like in the aluminum boat, and just like, is that like just a little lake by the house, or have you done kind of that aluminum boat, shallow water, backwater, off the beaten path stuff on purpose, or what's that all about?
Yeah, I got a couple lakes that are close to my house here that are horsepower lakes. So they're 25 horsepower lakes, and they're like 5 or 10 minutes from my house. They're pretty good fish. It's pretty good fishing. It's not like fishing a stock pond, but it's not it's not terrible. And I kind of grew up around here and fished some of these lakes. So, it's just really close. It's convenient. I can be, boat ramp 5-10 minutes. Don't have to drive, which driving to Gunnersville or Smith and you're taking a big boat, it's not all that convenient like right now for me. So yeah, I got that aluminum boat built just because I wanted something cool, really.
Yeah.
I've always had just a John boat, fishing these lakes, but nothing nice, nothing very nice at all. And so I kind of just did that as a treat. But yeah, it's just something fun for me. And I think it resonates a little bit more with your everyday fisherman, just fishing out of a John boat, even if it is has live scope or active target or whatever. But yeah, it's just fun, and I was like, man, I need to hook the camera up, just, may get some cool fish catches here and there. So
The latest one that I remember was the buzz, you were just jacking them on a buzz bait.
yeah. Yeah, that was several years ago. And I was filming with Mossy Oak, I think, and went out to, Duck River, little lake near the house, and I catch them on buzz bait. I mean, you can have some really good days. Just fishing shallow and stuff like that around here, and just fun little lakes, and it makes for easy. I'm all about the easy content where I don't have to.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to drive super far and do anything crazy, pack bags, and you can set the cameras up pretty easy and just go have fun for a couple hours. So
I'm kind of one of them. I keep it simple, stupid kind of deals too. I mean, I'm the same way. It's like it looks like it. Of course, a lot of guys like you make it look extremely easy, but I mean. And that's crazy you said that buzzbait video was a few years back, because it must be an algorithm thing or something.
Oh, yeah.
But, I literally just seen it just the other day. I guess maybe I was trying to look up buzzbait videos or something. I have no idea. But
yeah,
they don't eat a buzzbait on Big Hill or Grand Lake.
Well, that must be like somebody's listening to the phones, because like it was after a podcast. And I was just scrolling YouTube, and it was Jordan Lee's crushing them on a buzzbait, and I'm like, well, I got to watch that.
Oh yeah, they listen to us.
So,
yeah, they listen.
Yeah, is that Cedar? Is that Cedar Valley or something like that? What lake is that? Don't they have like a little Thursday nighter or something on that lake?
Are you talking about around where I live?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Duck River and there's
yeah.
Lake Katoma. Those are the two little lakes around my house, but I'm sure there's others.
Yep.
Tiny boat lakes. But
what's a little lake, Jolie? Like, what do you call a little lake?
Man, I don't even know how.
It's like
how
Bone
big
Creek.
Katoma
It's
is.
like
Probably,
Bone Creek.
Okay.
Probably
1,000 acres or something, or.
Yeah, maybe a little bit bigger, but not much. Yeah, something like that. Probably around 1,000, 1,300 acres. Probably 5 miles long or something.
Cool.
Yep.
So we've got a lot of lakes around here that I call little, but they're like 300 acres.
Right. So this lake is. It's approximately 530 square acres.
Yeah.
Nice size for,
Yeah.
Takes a while to get around and check stuff out. So
yeah. And a 25 horse too, but yeah, it's just fun, man. I know Brandon and Carl one time they fished out there. It's been 5, 6, 7 years ago, and my brother took them out there, kind of showed them around, and they like smashed them. I think on glide baits that day out there at the little Katoma. Those fish probably never seen it before.
Of course, glide bait has to be that.
Yeah, I think they caught them pretty good, but it's been probably longer than that. But yeah, so a few people got to go out there, but it's just fun, little small, mess around. Not many people are out there. So
is there you're getting ready to start what, 2 weeks? 2 weeks?
We got a little longer. I mean, like I said, I just got back. We got about a month till the tournament, I think, or till practice, because it went off limits yesterday.
Okay.
So,
Is there a lake is there a tournament you're looking forward to more than any of the others, or one you don't want to go to?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm just like, man, the tournament circuits get pretty redundant. I really don't like starting at St. John's, but it's okay. I mean, I've done the 2 times I've done okay there, but I've had mixed finishes, like obviously all these different lakes. But I like the new places. I think everybody does. I think the fans of fishing like to see, the new lakes, which they're not making any more of, lakes. So it's kind of hard to come up with new places. But we're going to the Sound. I'll butcher the name if I say it, but I call it the Sound.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about. We know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, that one's gonna be fun. Because you got, it's gonna be cool to break down, a big body of water, and there's going to be a lot of factors and variables and stuff like that. I think that's going to be one of our best tournaments to watch. I think nobody really knows and what to expect. So, I just think I've heard, obviously there's big fish in there like everybody else has heard. So power fishing, shallow, that's kind of the name of the game for me this year. I'm not really going into it, the schedule's really looking like a power fishing, the first couple tournaments, Florida, and then going to the Classic, in Texas, and then you're still going to have spinning rods and finesse tactics play, but for some, there's going to be guys catching them, on the heavy stuff, which it'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be good.
So that Sound when that tournament I'm looking probably most forward to.
I think that's been the common theme with most of the guests we've had on.
Yeah,
they're all looking forward to that event. And
and probably the one that I'm just dreading is probably the Sabine.
Oh,
not
how come?
Not a great area. The fishing obviously is not great. It's really the same thing every time they go. I know. They obviously pay pretty good. That's been.
Well, they get big crowds.
They get big crowds. The town pays well. I get that, but I think it's more important. If it was me, I would rather be going places that are going to be really fun to watch to get the viewership up, and maybe that is the best watch tournament. I don't even know, but it wouldn't be my pick as far as. Sending the anglers there that, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it, but that's where we're going.
It's tough. I wouldn't say it's tough. You'll catch a lot of fish.
Yeah.
Not a lot of big fish, but it'll be close.
And going to Louisiana would be awesome. Like, man, tidal places like that, and that's cool. Like, all those tidal fisheries, I've been to a lot of them over the years, but like if we could fish in Louisiana and there wasn't any boundaries, you could just let loose and just send it, going into ponds and stuff. Like that'd be cool, to try to find a 3-pounder, but just fishing like Texas waters and you're just limited, and there's not a lot of great vegetation there.
So I'm taking it that the Louisiana issues have not been resolved. So for those that are watching this podcast and wondering what we're talking about, Louisiana right now has laws where, how do I say this, where the private companies or landowners, they say they own the water. Like, so they can just put up gates and they can put up fences and they can not even put anything up. They can just put up a sign that says keep out, and you have to keep out.
Yep.
And So that's why bass has taken a stance not to go to Louisiana. I mean, that's why the Classic hasn't been back to Louisiana. Different places. We're talking the Delta, like down by the coast. They'll still go to like Monroe, up on the river or the Shreveport. They'll go up there. But like when it comes to the coastline or the near the coast where that all comes into play, and it takes out so much water, where you, like you said, the anglers could fish, and people in Louisiana take those signs seriously too.
Oh yeah.
Anglers been shot at down there
Oh yeah.
for going into where they shouldn't be, and the bad thing is you may not even know. Like sometimes you're in an area where it's not marked very well, and you don't even know how you got there, but you're all of a sudden on private property.
Yeah, I don't know anywhere else in the country that you can own the water, but I believe in Louisiana you can actually own the backwater, or
Yep.
I think you can. Like, I mean, I think it's, it can be private property. Like they bought it or they had it previously, and it's not just like state land like it is on every other lake in the country, where you always see these YouTube videos or Instagram reels of somebody skipping under a dock and the lady coming out of the dock screaming, or being a Karen, being like, get away from my dock, and the dude's like, you can call the cops, like, I'm fishing public water, like it's not a big deal, like, and you see it all the time, right? But down in Louisiana, I believe, like, yeah, it's you can legitimately own a piece of water.
I mean, there's a lot of water down there that is fishable, but from a tournament director standpoint, where the issue comes in is Joe Blow landowner tells Jordan Lee he can fish in there.
Correct.
But he then tells Matt Lee that he can't fish in there.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's not fair.
It's totally understandable. I mean, everybody, I think, completely understands it. It's just it is kind of a shame that,
there's a lot of good fishing down there in the Atchafalaya Basin.
Yeah. And
the Delta.
Yeah. Down at Venice and places like that, where, they had a classic there years ago. The one that Kevin won. You remember guys that were running, you were there, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Guys were running through the fog with the radars, and
one and only time I totally disagreed with Trip Weldon, and we had an argument on the bank.
Really?
About whether or not we should be going, and because I didn't think we should, and Trip was getting heat from above, and he's the guy that makes
that was unbelievable.
Some guys had running radar, and I remember Lawrence was giving their guys radar and stuff like that, and maybe Humminbird was doing the same thing, but the guys that didn't have Humminbird or Lawrence sponsors didn't have radar, and it was thick, like couldn't see in 2 feet in front of your face thick.
No, I remember it vividly. That was crazy.
Yeah,
I remember guys just taking off with that radar. We've never seen radar since then,
right.
In a tournament. But I mean, you talk about puckered up, running down the inner. I don't know if they're running down the intercoastal waterway. Probably were, but yeah, you're running down there and there's barges. I'm sure guys have some crazy stories of being like,
I'm sure,
10 feet in front of behind a barge and not even see it. And you're in the Classic, you're trying to push it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild. But when they got to their fishing water down there in Venice, they were straight up jacking them. And yeah, that would be an awesome place to fish.
Mm-hmm.
But the restrictions,
Yeah.
kind of a shame.
It is.
Have you ever made that run to like the Trinity River where Reese and McClellan and some of those guys like were running like way out into the salt water and then coming back up into the fresh water and all that?
Yeah, I have ran on that on Sabine. I never ran that far over there, but the one tournament we had in South Carolina, I did run
Cooper River.
Yeah, I remember running all the way, 200 something miles in a day, something stupid. And getting back to the boat ramp and being like, dude, I'm never doing that again. Like for 5, I think I caught 5 fish that day. Didn't even, did okay. Didn't make. I didn't think I got beat half the field. But running that far in a bass boat, it's terrible.
Is there? I mean, I just kind of was like thinking to myself, Reese spent 2.5 hours or 3 hours getting there. And then of course, they didn't really cover his journey to where he was very good, So it's hard for somebody like me to understand what all it takes to even get to where he's at. It just looks incredible.
And more and more people now are, if there is better fishing somewhere, it's crazy how little time it takes, anglers, especially obviously some of the best anglers in the world to catch those fish. If you run, like all these smallmouth tournaments, last year I was running at Ontario or, St. Lawrence, running out to Ontario, it's probably 100 miles or, 90, 100 miles one way, 200-mile round trip in a day, getting gas twice. So you run to the gas station, get gas, you get there.
Oh.
If the fish are there, and we've been to these tournaments so many times, like Ontario's just got bigger fish. So you catch your fish, and I couldn't catch those fish in a full day, fishing close to the ramp, fishing, within 50, 60 miles of the ramp. They're like, there's no chance of me catching this kind of weight. You just kind of know that going in. But I had guys that on Ontario, I was running 90, 100 miles, and they were blowing past me. They weren't blowing past me. I was fishing, and then they were running out of sight, another 20, 30 miles, catch their fish, or maybe even longer than that. They may have been running 130, 40 miles one way.
How do they find a spot?
Yeah, because that blows me up.
Out 50 miles out into the lake.
Well, it's probably a lot of chatter. Well, they've been there, several times. So maybe the year prior, this guy, caught him over here around this island. And it's really that the repetition of, somebody going over there and trying it. And then let's say the Bassmaster has a live camera in their boat. They're whacking them. Well, he was at this island. So I know one day of practice, all right, I need to go out to this island. Now with live scope and active target, dude, you can, pull up to a point over there, put your trolling motor down or graph for 2 hours, find some rocks, put your trolling motor down and see if there's any fish on them. It doesn't take long, and the fish are dumb. And, if they're just smallmouth around, like if you see a fish, it's a smallmouth.
Yeah, we need to go up. We need to go up there, Kyle.
I mean, it just sounds like.
I've fished it before.
It's not super easy to fish because the weather, but guys are just not scared anymore too to run that far. They know, and it was made public too, like on Ontario. The further you go out, those fish have not seen baits.
Yeah.
Now the fish closer to the river, they get fished for all year. So they're educated. They're smart. Like you may see 8 fish on a rock, a good one. Well, you're only going to catch one of those fish, and then the rest of them aren't going to bite. So the further you go out, you may catch all 8 of those. So That's what guys figure out.
It makes sense. And that's, now that you've said that, it's like, yeah, duh, but gee, many Christmas. You start talking about how in the hell do you even get out there on one tank of fuel and then turn around and come back? It's because it's not like some of these lakes that, let's say Table Rock, for example, that I've fished quite a few times. If you're going to make a long run from the dam, clean up the White River, and you only got a 40-gallon tank, you might have to stash gas, or if you go to Truman or this or that. But you can't stash gas on the Great Lakes.
Yeah, you got to find gas stations, and that's just an added. That's an added thing. But there's, a lot of our tournaments, guys get gas. They run in that far to try to, because they think it's just a little bit better there, and they doesn't take long. That's really kind of the name of the game now, is getting to.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me, because it don't matter how good the fish are biting. I'm not catching number 5 till 2:30.
That's right.
I mean, that's just how it is.
You need all day.
Yeah, that's
well, he's definitely, Jordan. He's definitely found his own fish.
That's right.
See that way.
Ain't no doubt.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. I'm about that life. I'm about to find your own fish life.
I like it. I like it a lot. I really do.
I've just never been a long runner. I mean, I just don't. I guess because I don't get a fish as often as I'd like to. When I put the boat in, I don't want to be running. I want to be fishing.
I mean, I hate it. I mean, I used to not run. I mean, I felt like most tournaments I'm not going to run that far, but now it's kind of I'm pretty open to it, because I have seen where if you think the fishing's going to be better and you happen to find something, it can pay off in one of our tournaments. But
yeah,
I gotta ask this question, and I can preface this on the amount of maybe listeners that we have, that you might be able to give me an honest answer and get away with it. But in your honest opinion, is the Yamaha guys, the Suzuki guys, the Mercury guys, who's the most confident that they can make that run day in and day out and not break down?
Man, I don't know. I think all of them can potentially have motor issues running that far. I'm pretty partial to Yamaha. I've never got stranded in a tournament. I've had a couple issues here and there in 8-9 years, but I think one tournament, out of all the tournaments that I fished, I think I had a low unit go out at Kentucky Lake one year, 2018 maybe. But since then, I've never really hadn't been in the service yard that much, or had a breakdown issue, or even slung an ear on a prop. Nothing like that. I've been pretty lucky over the years, I would say. Is there anything
that you would attribute to that, having that success whatsoever? I mean, do you have something you do kind of one off of other guys or anything like that?
Not really. I think I hit stuff, man. I hit some stuff, but I don't know. I think the Yamaha, in my honest opinion, I just think it's the best motor as far as just reliability. I think like Honda and the Suzuki are probably they're probably close, I've heard, as far as just reliability. Which is, you don't hear a lot of those motors in the bass fishing. You're hitting more Suzuki now, but I think those engines are really reliable. Maybe not the fastest, but I think they're reliable. And Mercury, I would say they're the least reliable. Probably just because they're the most ready available, and I think they it seems like there's so many engines of all Mercury in the States, and they're, Yamaha comes from Japan. Yamaha Japanese tackle and the engines and everything in Japan. I don't know if that's where Mercury's come from, but I don't think so.
Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
Yeah. So Japanese versus Wisconsin, there's people that have issues with both, but
Right.
that's just my opinion. But Mercury is really the best ready available engine in the States. So.
I mean, some of the parts are obviously coming from elsewhere, but
that's a one reason to buy Mercury over. A lot of people buy Mercuries over Yamahas because the parts. Like, I know my boat. Yeah, I had a lower unit go out on, my 2-year-old boat. Whatever, no big deal. Still under warranty, but couldn't find a lower unit, and they didn't have any. But luckily, with my connections and stuff, I could find one. But they were in Japan, so you can't just get parts quick for Yamaha.
yeah,
But they are reliable.
good to know. Danny, are you with us?
Kind of, sort of.
Oh, that was a quick response.
All
That
right.
sounded good.
That was a
How
quick
you
response.
doing?
I think my brain's just frozen.
Dan-
Dude,
Danny's a little frustrated, Jordan, because it's
Camera.
2 weeks now. He's had a little connectivity issues. 3 weeks in a row.
3
So
3 weeks.
he's a little
Well,
frustrated.
it sounds pretty good right now.
It's crazy. I disconnected my laptop and everything, my camera, and I just have my iPhone up here on a stand. So maybe I'll go back to doing this.
Maybe. That'd be good. Are you fishing? We've had a couple questions for you on the side there, Jordan. Justin wants to know if you're fishing anything else. He wants to know if you're fishing the opens, but are you fishing anything else besides the elites?
No, I'm not. I thought about maybe jumping in some of the opens, and I don't know. I've looked at different tournaments, but really, man, it's enough for me. 9 or 10 tournaments, which is 10 weeks plus. You throw in some sponsored, obligations here and there, maybe some other opportunities. I think I just fished the elites, and there's a big tournament coming up that the state of Alabama's putting on in the fall on Guntersville, which is going to be really a big deal, I think, for fishing. It's not really getting talked about a lot, but it's going to be awesome. Not just for pro anglers, people that fish BFLs, certain events. If they're a member, they can qualify for this event, and it's going to be. There's a lot of money. The state of Alabama is putting up $1.2 million for one tournament, $500,000 to the winner, and not just pro anglers are going to be in this. So,
Is it just Alabama?
It's just Alabama. It's just this one tournament, and it's going to keep happening. The governor, they got it's grant. It's a grant. I think the money is it's coming from the state. I just don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if it's taxpayer money. I guess it is. I guess, but they want to. I guess they want to give back, and they understand how valuable fishing is in the state. They know how much money it brings into the different towns. So yeah, so they're doing it. This is the first time. You can look it up. It's called the Ultimate Angler Championship. Probably be pretty cool to get somebody on from there. But I'm just super thankful, and it's really cool to see the Ultimate Angler Championship. That's what it's called. But just to see the state of Alabama putting this money up, and this is not like sponsorship money, anything like that. And, you know, there's going to be guys from Toyota Series Opens and some BFLs even, and I think local trails you can qualify. But
Yeah, there's, I believe Alabama may be the most proactive state in the U.S. as far as fishing tournaments. They do support. I wish other states did, like Kay and her and the ABT. You know, that's funded by the state and or at least partially funded by the state.
Right.
And you know, that's a huge deal. And I wish other states would do like the Alabama Bass Trail.
Yeah, like Texas Parks and Wildlife, I feel like they take care of their lakes better than anywhere. But yeah, for what Alabama and just what the governor, you know, what they're doing for this, just for fishermen, is really cool. I think that could be like a big push in really the whole industry when this eventually catches on, probably gain some traction, because the money is, you know, it's life-changing money for somebody, and, you know, bigger than the Classic and the Red Crest, anything like that. And it's just, I think there's like an opportunity there. So that tournament's going to be in October. Anyway, I'm fishing it. I qualify. You got to qualify for it. And so that'll take up, you know, week there too. But so yeah, that's really all I'm going to fish next year.
What about the EQs? I saw the schedule came out today for the EQs, fall tournaments, Champlain, Pickwick, and Okeechobee. You know, are you one that's gonna fish those only if you have to type of thing? Like you're not qualified for the Classic or something, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think are those tournaments winning you're in?
I believe so.
Winning you're in Classics, yeah.
I believe.
Yeah,
so.
I could see myself for sure fishing them if I didn't make the Classic. That would probably be the only time I would fish them. Just you know,
so you won't be fishing them. We'll just say that.
Well, maybe. Hey, maybe, man. I don't know. I hope you're right, but we may be in them. We may be in dead last in points and be rolling into the opens looking for a shot. But yeah, you know, I'm just, I like to. For me, guys are, you know, ask me, hey, you fishing the MPFL? Or I mean, I would love to fish the MPFL, but it just, you know, just as far as like the no live scope and all that, like that sounds cool. I don't like the payout in it. I don't think it's really a smart payout. The opens are kind of the same way. You know, you're really going there for like that reason, for somebody like me, like going there to try to make the Classic. But yeah, there's just so much usually going on too that you kind of got to pick and choose what you fish. But I've really done well just focusing on, hey, I got these 10 tournaments, these 12 tournaments, 13 tournaments, and saying I got to focus on these lakes, maybe, you know, just a little bit more instead of just going one to the next, and you just get burnt out, and, you know, it's don't want to fish anymore. Like I'm trying to prolong, you know, fishing for me. So
sure, understandable. So I don't know if this is a dangerous question or not, because I have no idea what they're talking about. Dominic wants to know what your favorite go-to Zen flavor is.
I'm on that. You know what Zen is?
I don't even know what it is, Jordan. What is it?
It's a tobacco alternative, John.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, that's why.
Yeah, people know I've Zen because they've seen the cans or whatever not, but it's literally just a nicotine pouch. I'm not like super proud of it, but some days I'll pop those things in like crazy and just be like a crackhead on nicotine. And then there's other days where I'm like, I don't really need it. Like today, like I've had like one, I think, all day, which is pretty good for me.
Mhm.
But when I'm fishing and I'm like kind of on edge a little bit, like, yeah, you'll be like, dang, Jordan's chewing a lot of gum today in that, can. But I'm on them cinnamon. I like the
Cinnamon.
cinnamon.
And he wants to know what about a sponsorship from him?
Man, they're weird. Zen, I don't think they sponsor. I don't think they sponsor anybody. I don't think they have to. Number one, but
Yeah.
they've been to some fishing expos and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. The nicotine and tobacco companies are pretty weird
Yeah.
sponsorship wise. They have a lot of unwritten. I don't know if there's unwritten clauses and stuff, that make it hard for them to, sponsor people, athletes and stuff.
Yeah, I get that. The one I was really surprised by was Justin Hamner. I was listening to him on a podcast. I think it was Mercer. But he was talking about, how during the Classic, he was, they covered how he likes his Milo's tea and he had to have it all the time, and his mom or somebody brought it to him before the tournaments. And Justin said he tried to get a sponsorship from him, and he had a PowerPoint and everything. And on the Classic weekend, they sold more Milo's tea than they did any other weekend of the entire year, including the summer. And they didn't sponsor, and they wouldn't sponsor him. I think that's a no-brainer.
Man, yeah. Sometimes it doesn't make sense for us. Like, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about there's been times where, I mean, like, I know with Carhartt, I remember them, somebody that was working there when I won the Classic, maybe the 2018 one, I was wearing their rain suit and wasn't talking about it on social media or anything. I just was wearing it. And, back then and it still may carry that weight today of like, but just the rain suit itself was like, they sold, whatever, 50, 60,000, dollars of rain suits in maybe a day or two time span. But a company like that, they look at that and they're like, yeah, that's cool, but is that all you did, type deal?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, they tell you gotta prove prove your return on their investment.
Well, it's just.
But then when you do,
I wasn't on TV.
when you tell them,
any. So do you like that option, or do you like me?
Yeah.
You like me?
I mean, it's crazy what you think is good, what you think in the whole fishing industry, what you think, okay, I sold this many rods, and you get a check maybe, and it looks good. Like there's only a few guys that maybe get to do that in a career, like where they got their own rods and say they sell great. Well, and you think everything's good. Well, there's going to be some time where it just doesn't make sense. Like they just, a company may be like, look, it just wasn't up to par. Like we needed to sell more. Mm-hmm. And you're thinking like, man, like really? Like I thought it was pretty good, but yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that. Sometimes companies they're like, fishing just is not maybe. I don't know. They think they got better opportunities somewhere else.
Man, it's unfortunate because obviously being biased and all, but I think this community of, for lack of better terms, rednecks and just good old boys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can get a more loyal salesman.
Very loyal.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it definitely can work. Like the marketing strategies for companies with fishermen. I mean, it's worked in the past, but I think now with the TikTok and social media and TikTok right now, it may not be around that much longer, but there's so many like for a company like Milo's, for example, that would be really cool. And I think like you said, they may sold more that weekend than any other weekend, but they could sponsor an old lady or an older lady that has her own cooking show, like Darian did with Y'all Sweet Tea.
Yeah,
was the best move he ever made, and she's basically made his company just blow up. A 60 or 70-year-old lady who has a Facebook following who cooks. And he didn't even have to put any, he's a fisherman, and his logo wasn't on Gerald's boat or, like there's so many people out there that can market. It doesn't even matter if you're young, old, anywhere in between. So I think that's kind of killed it a little bit too.
Yeah.
Best thing about the internet is you can do it all, and the worst thing about the internet is you can do it all, I guess. I mean, I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the companies that are in the fishing world, obviously that's what we all really rely on throughout the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's and in the grand scheme of things, like you said, it really is a small, in the world, all the businesses, it really is a small market, a niche market, the fishermen. Yes, there's a lot of us, but
the one thing about fishing is it can be expensive, which is good for companies and boat companies. And even though there's used boats and stuff, they still sell, a bunch of new ones every year. And it's an expensive, like you can go buy one basketball and it can be good for 3 or 4 years.
But even that market, you think, oh man, the bass boat market, of all the companies, all the bass boat companies together only sell like 3,000 bass boats a year.
Right.
Which in the grand scheme of things,
no,
isn't that many out of all the companies. And so for such a small sport, if you really want to look at it, I think there's a lot of opportunity for anglers and for even fans and just guys that just want to fish, tournaments, local tournaments, whatever they are. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and it'll never be a football or a golf or anything like that. When guys talk about, when I hear these arguments about, the guys should be making $1 million, it's just not the market's not there to do that. Take soccer or football. There's how many millions and billions of people are diehard football fans.
Oh yeah.
And then how many fishermen are there that buy a fishing license in America? What, like 5 million?
Right.
So how many of those 5 million are die-hard like bass fishermen that are spending a lot of money? Maybe a million, maybe 750,000. That's
Yeah.
just not that many.
No.
So to be that small and to be that small and yet be as big as fishing is, as bass fishing is pretty amazing to me, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's
That
yeah,
was
it's pretty
that was a
interesting.
bunch of babbling that
No.
made absolutely no sense to half the people that are listening. But oh well.
No, it's completely understandable for me. Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said it how it is. That's the fishing world in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But there's still people that a lot of people make a living, through fishing in and around the sport, and
Yeah. I mean, all kinds of people doing not just fishing. I mean, our lodge is, if we didn't have bass tournament, I mean, we are built for the tournament fishermen, and if we didn't have tournaments, we'd be broke. We'd be closed in a year.
Yeah.
If we didn't have tournaments on Grand Lake, we'd be closed in a year. No doubt.
Yep.
So, and then there's all kinds of people that, the marketing guy, the Luke Stoners of the world,
Oh yeah.
that the Brad Rutherford guy, that are just all kinds of people that make their living off of this sport. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Joe, if you weren't fishing, if you weren't a pro angler, and you said, I got to be in that industry, is there another job that you would do? Is there another job that you would pick?
Be a veterinarian.
No, I wouldn't be. I'd have to go to vet school for that. I'm not going back to school at this point. No chance.
Not following after Dad, huh?
No, so Dad, is a vet, but man, I knew at an early age I didn't want to be a veterinarian because, I mean, you want to talk about hard work and the things that I saw growing up, and just him
you
being on.
You don't want to stick your arm down up a cow's butt.
No, I mean, I've seen it so many times now, and just seeing him pulling a dead calf out of a cow at 2 a.m. and it's 20 degrees out, and just I told him the other day, if my dad had a YouTube channel, and if
your dad would be great on a YouTube
listen,
channel.
He would be probably the most famous. I don't know. He would have millions and millions and millions of followers on there because the stuff that he does on a regular basis and does is bizarre to 99% of the world, but to him it's just a normal day, but it's crazy. Like, his trucks are his old vet trucks that he goes through just beat to hell and back. I mean, they look like somebody took a baseball bat and hit them from every direction. And so, but anyway, I knew at a young age, I was like, I really don't know if I want to be a vet. And him getting bit by dogs and kicked by horses in the nuts and the back and bruises and just, God, he's beat up, but he's a warrior, man. He's still going hard. But if I couldn't fish, I don't know, I'd probably be like working construction or something.
Oh, that's boring as hell. I thought maybe you'd say, it's going to be an R&D department and lure manufacturer or something.
I don't even know if I'd work in the fishing world, man. If I couldn't do what I'm doing now, I probably wouldn't. I mean, I'd just figure out something that I could be my own boss, just like what John said. Whatever it may be, I would try to figure out something, to just to be my own boss. Probably not construction, but I could do that. But
sell Amway.
Dude, I work with a bunch of construction workers every day, and I work in that industry. I work for a company that rents equipment nationally, and
I gotcha.
And man, there's some cranky SOBs, boy. I mean, there's some cranky people. I tell you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been around some, but I definitely try to find my own gig somewhere. I mean, that's obviously you get a lot of benefits from that, but it's also a lot, it's hard too, just like anything. But
What's your walk-up music this year?
I hadn't picked them, but we were talking about it today. I thought about. I don't really listen to a lot of rap anymore. I'm kind of my older age now. I'm kind of getting away from the hard rap that I used to listen to. Now I don't even really listen to music, to be honest with you. My wife does. She's like in the car. As soon as we're in the car, she turns it on. But I'm like, I'll sit in silence for hours,
I can't do that.
3-4 hours at a time. I can sit in silence or listen to a podcast or something. But I think I'm on Morgan Wallen. He's a friend of mine. We've been fishing a couple times, and he's a country artist. If you don't know who he is, but he's got a couple. He's got a song with a rapper. His name's Moneybag Yo. Him and they have a collaboration together called Whiskey. I think I'm gonna come out to that.
That's definitely that guy's name too, by the way.
Who?
What was the name of the song?
Whiskey.
Whiskey.
I hadn't picked it yet, but I think I may come out to that at the Classic, and I don't know about the tournaments.
It's nice. It's a good pick.
I like rap for coming out songs just because it's kind of hype. It's pretty cool, but I don't really listen to it a lot anymore.
Who's a better fisherman, you or Matt?
I mean, if we're looking off statistics, I would probably have to say myself. Has he kicked my ass before? Absolutely. There's been plenty of times when Matt put me on fish and I actually outfished him, but he found them. But there's definitely it goes both ways. But I've definitely outdone him in the tournament department over the years. But
do you get to fish together much?
Man, not really that much anymore. We get to hang. We gotten to hang out quite a bit this fall. He just had a little girl, so yeah, it's been kind of fun to see him be a dad. But we haven't. We fished one time together this fall and absolutely smoked him. Just me and him. We didn't have any cameras in the boat. Just went out to Guntersville and caught him on a buzz bait and different stuff, and just had a blast. That was a fun time. But we get to go together maybe once or twice a year. But that was definitely fun.
Yeah, we'll have to have Matt on the show.
Oh yeah.
Dennis Buck wants to know what your all-time favorite lure is.
Probably a jig. Swimming it, flipping it, casting it. That's my favorite go-to, honestly.
And what's a basic setup?
I'm looking at a 7.2, 7.3 heavy, 20-pound line. I like bigger jigs, really lighter jigs though. Most of the time, less than 3/8. I bury the trailer. Football jigs out deep. That's kind of this year hasn't been very popular. Last couple of years really hadn't been that popular, but there's times when they obviously get on a jig deep. But I like all kinds of different trailers, but chunk, from a chunk this time of year, I throw to a bigger crawl or swim bait on the back. I'm throwing a swim jig.
Do you throw a number 11 Uncle Josh pork rind on it?
No, I don't, but the Max sent from Berkeley is probably close second. They make a chunk and it stinks and it's big, kind of like an Uncle Josh, but it works good.
Pat Schlopper, he's adamant
about the Uncle Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys that still have some of that Uncle Josh stuff, but I'm not one to throw it.
Yeah. Kyle,
Men are shaking.
you know, men are shaking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to just kind of maybe touch on that for a minute because
All
it's
right,
just,
hold on. So I got this. Before we get into that, men are shaking. I got this Bible verse, 2 Timothy 2:23. It says, "Don't have anything to do with stupid or foolish arguments, because you will know they will just start quarrels."
Yep.
2 Timothy 2:23.
I just wrote that down.
That's very true.
Okay. Go on with your
I like
minute,
that.
Pagan.
I like that. Yeah.
De- Devin Pino's not on here to give
The
me any.
the minnow shaking has been very interesting. You know, the one thing that I'll say is it's probably, bass obviously eat shad, and the Japanese anglers figured out that they could put a minnow, a certain type of minnow with a certain plastic. The depths really wasn't made for that technique, but there was guys in Japan that started doing it and figuring out they could catch bass. And it has just turned out to be the best technique for live scope. It doesn't matter if the fish are on the bottom, up in the water column, doesn't matter February through January. And there's just so many lakes, man, that it works, and it's been dominant on. And I see it kind of playing out a little bit. I think it's going to continue to get tougher, and overall over the years to come. But it's still right now like the number one deal in all tournaments that's going to win the tournament. Now, there may be, I feel like it's getting to the point now, though, there out of 10 guys that go do it, there only may be, 3 guys that catch them good, but those 3 guys are going to be in the top 3 in the tournament. Just based off pressure. But it's dominant. I mean, all year in our tournaments, like it was just a perfect storm for that bite. Suspended fish that were all bait, people using crazy transducers, saltwater transducers, $5,000 transducers they could see out 400 or 500 feet or 300 to 400 feet, chase down fish and catch them that hadn't been fished for a lot. So it's just been interesting, but it's I don't know. It's definitely been the hot technique.
Have you played with it like seriously just taking like half a dozen spinning rods and half a dozen different jig heads with minnows on it and just spent like countless days trying to perfect it and all that? I mean, like what's the, I know you guys have like Smith Lake and
Yeah.
What's the perfect scenario to go do that? I mean, like for us up here right now, we crappie fish in the wintertime a lot, and that's good. We're shaking minnows over crappie.
Mm-hmm.
Really, we are. It's forward-facing sonar practice. There's really nothing better right now than to throw at a school of crappie and catch one.
Mm-hmm.
And me personally, I don't see much difference than maybe there is, but what's the perfect scenario for you to just put all the other stuff away and go practice that?
Yeah, this fall I did it because that was kind of the predominant thing. But I'll tell you what, here on I say here on Gunnersville, down the road at Gunnersville, there's like a phenomenon that goes on in the fall. I think November is the best month to fish the Tennessee River. that's what we learned this fall. Out of January, March, or January through December, November is the best month to bass fish. For big weights of fish, live scoping, and that's the time of year where they're feeding probably the best. They're suspended. They're vulnerable when they're suspending. Where it used to be, you would never have caught one. But now, like, you want them to suspend. Guys want to see suspended fish. But what happened was the water, and I saw this with my own eyes because I went out around Thanksgiving, caught 30, a little over 30 pounds 2 days in a row, in a couple hours, 4 hours probably on the water. Haven't been out there, and guys were doing the same thing. They were bringing in, monster bags and tournaments. And then it got cold, and all those fish kind of vanished. But that time of year, man, it is great practice to figure out. Like this fall, I learned the most about it than I have all year, because I got to mess with different minnows, jig heads, line sizes, what works, what doesn't, how the fish react to baits, all that. But it's different now, at least on the Tennessee River and, different lakes in the winter. Like the dead winter, the fish go from high in the water like they were in November, where, these fish are only like a couple feet down over, 20, 25 feet. And then they get on the bottom, like when it gets cold, and then they get harder to catch, harder to see. So it changes a lot, obviously in the wintertime. But, everybody's so good with it now. And, at least on our level that, it's almost impossible to win a tournament on it now, it seems like, because, there's so many unbelievable fishermen that don't know how to do it.
I know this kind of sounds like a crazy comment, but since that technique has came out and it's been so dominant for forward-facing sonar is going to be allowed. The shaking a minnow or the Mickey rig, whatever you want to call it, is fine. Is there ever talks of saying, you know what, bring the Alabama rig back and let's just let them have it?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't even think it would be. I don't even think you'd see people throw it as much. I don't know if you'd ever even see Alabama rig, to be honest with you, because anywhere you throw Alabama rig, those fish are either gonna really, really bite it, or they're just gonna follow it. And that what you can do with that minnow, you can't do with the Alabama rig. You can almost slow it down, and guys are slowing that minnow down so much where they're just levitating it above those fish and giving them, so much time to just think about it and look at it. And those fish are just, lazy, and they're just swimming so slow and come up there and just, eating the minnow. Whereas the Alabama rig, it's swimming like 10 miles an hour back to the boat. And I think that's one of the reasons you don't see it as much.
And the time of year that most of those tournaments are, Kyle, is, like right now, I'd agree with you. Like in the Saturday jackpots here on Grand, they're catching 24, 25 pounds to win that thing, but they're catching them on an A rig because it's 45-degree water right now. But if it was summer or, March through June tournament, you're probably not going to see that same weight on a rig. You'd probably see better weights on the minnow, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's weird how they banned that though, but I don't know. It was crazy.
I was against that too, by the way.
It was a crazy bait. 5 baits at one
Part
time.
of the reason why I'm no longer there, I was a little boisterous on things.
It could go here nor there, but I think people forgot about the Alabama rig in tournaments.
maybe in your neck of the woods, definitely up here in the Midwest, they have not forgotten about the egg.
No,
They haven't
Not
forgot
now.
about it
Not
back
now.
home, but I guess I meant to say guys still kill them on at Gunnersville. It's like one of the best wintertime pre-spawn baits. But I guess in
Yes.
the big tournaments,
Yeah.
I don't think guys, or I don't think the public misses it.
Right. No.
Kind of deal.
Yeah.
yeah.
I get it.
I was going to ask you something, but I lost my train of thought. Do you use thump gel? Justin Harris wants to know.
I haven't. Not saying it's not the juice or anything, but I take that back. I've used the bait pop. I maybe used thump gel once or twice, but I haven't really noticed a huge difference. I've never had that one day that I've been like, this is stupid.
What's the stuff that comes in like the chapstick form?
I use that. I use that all the time. That KVD crawfish stuff.
Is that the
Strike King.
Is that the stuff that Swindle was talking about on his social media that he mistaken for chapstick?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I did use this year, though. I don't know if it worked or not, but I used some of Taku's his bite powder and I soaked my stuff in
shrimp juice or whatever
it was.
So they said
I caught a monster bag, a smallmouth on it.
So after that tournament, they reported that there was jellyfish in Smith Lake. Did you hear that?
No.
Yeah. And it was confirmed by Gene Gilliland. And so
No way.
yeah. So I'm wondering, because he was throwing that what do you call it?
Koiki.
Yeah, whatever. That he knows that there was jellyfish in there.
Now you're blowing my mind.
I don't know.
Taku Ito for the win.
I'm gonna have to call up Gene Gillen about that.
Yeah. We got him here in Oklahoma. Somebody researched it after somebody said that. Danny did. Danny did some research.
Really?
And I don't, and they're in Kansas, I guess. Melbourne. I've never seen one. And I don't think they're thick. Like, I think it's rare that you see one.
And we're all thinking, jellyfish like this. And they're
little.
We see a lot of freshwater sponges that, like, we have a lot of lakes around here that have flooded timber, and you'll see like those, some of the trees and some of the, like, even Bone Creek, Big Hill stuff will have like this growth on some of the limbs.
Gene Gilliland just commented, it's true.
okay.
They are not uncommon. They're about the size of a quarter.
Yes. And so we have a lot of freshwater sponges. And I was thinking to myself, whenever you guys were talking about the jellyfish, like, is that what they're talking about? No.
Freshwater sponge.
I think that's what they're called. And hopefully Gene can clarify that at some point. But like, if you're fishing the flooded timber at Big Hill,
like a loofah?
I always thought they were frog eggs or something on the.
They're definitely not frog eggs, bub.
Oh.
It's like it's essentially something that grows in lakes that have really good water quality.
You're talking about like growing on the trees and stuff that looks like a big jellyfish that's on the tree.
Yeah.
It's like a big egg sack or something.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. It was some kind of egg sac.
It looks almost like a giant, like a wild bee nest or something, but it's in the jelly form and it's connected to the limb of a tree.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See there, I'm not crazy.
No, that's not what we're talking about, Kyle.
No, it is not. But the fuzzy dice thing, I'm kind of still a skeptic.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the smallmouth, for whatever reason, they like it up north. They really, really like that thing. I didn't throw it, but a lot of guys were making their own in, tournaments and stuff. Like, I don't know. But I don't know about. I mean, scent has always been a thing, but I'm telling you what, that. I mean, you just don't know. There's no like for an angler to believe in scent. Like you got to have you got to have two people in the boat together, throwing at the same fish, and then the fish runs over and bites one and not the other. But
I think it's a confidence thing myself. Kind of like any, like I can't catch a fish on a watermelon Senko ever.
yeah,
But if I put on a green pumpkin, I will catch them.
yeah.
Right.
But
And
they're firm. The Japanese are firm believer in it. And anyway, I mean, yeah, that scent stuff though. I think the smallmouth really, there's something to it with them.
Probably.
I mean,
I remember what it was that I was going to ask. On those days when you took the minnow out and really was working with it, did you discover anything that really kind of lit a light bulb, or that maybe the general guy that's not very good at it, like myself,
Yeah.
isn't doing that we should be doing?
Yeah, I would say really probably the biggest thing that I started doing was, I think there's times throughout the year, I wish I'd have known it early in the year, which I did a little bit, but there's two things with the minnow. It's the size of the minnow, and then there's the size of the jig head. And, that you can throw a less than an 1/8 ounce jig head with a 7-inch minnow, which I've never done that before until this fall, where I've thrown, a big bait on a light jig head, and that bait it won't even like sink hardly. It'll sink a little bit, but you can, float that bait above these fish. And it's a big profile. If there's big fish in a lake, like that is a recipe for some big catches with the minnow. And I used to think a 5-inch, and now I'm looking at a 5-inch, like, man, this thing's kind of small, after throwing a big giant minnow. That was very popular this fall in Gunnersville. It was a bigger bait, but I like the lighter jig heads, and the lightest jig head you can get away with is the best one. So,
Interesting.
Less than an 1/8, a 3/32, hard to find, good hooks and stuff like that. To 1/8 ounce, 3/16 are what really popular sizes. But once you get over that, I think the biggest mistake is the going up with weight. Going to a heavier head, you won't catch as many fish.
Interesting.
So,
and this all has to be done on a spinning rod.
It has to be done on a spinning rod, and that's the hardest part about the minnow shaking. And you have to have the right rod too. If your rod's too stiff, it won't you won't get the correct action. And you got to have a pretty light rod.
Like what? Like what's your average, your main setup if you're gonna be doing that?
If you're ever going to have an expensive rod for any technique, it would be this. You almost got to have like a $300, $400, $500 rod for this technique to really work, because it's got to be light enough that you're not going to shake your elbow off your arm, because you got a heavy rod.
Because you're trying to get that jig to
try and get that roll, and you don't want to be moving the bait, close to you very fast. So you want it to be like sitting still almost, and just, and that was my problem starting out. Was the last couple of years. I'm just now getting to where I'm pretty confident with it, but everybody's different, like how they hold the rod and stuff. But having a light action rod, like 610 or shorter, medium light rod, and you can put heavy line on it, or you can put light braid to heavy fluorocarbon and just crank your drag down where you're not going to break them, and just swing, if one bites it. But you don't have to throw light line. That's what guys figured out this year too.
Like what are you talking? Like 12 pound?
You can throw whatever you want, really, because the fish don't see it, and it doesn't really affect the action of the bait. So yeah.
So like a 30-pound braid or something, or a
light braid.
braid.
I throw like 6-pound braid to 12, 15, 17, 20 pound leader.
Okay.
You throw that. How do you join the two? Are you throwing the? Do you use the Alberto or do you use that?
I use the FG knot, and I only can tie it sitting down in my boat. And it's a pain in the ass to tie. But if you tie it, the good thing about it, there's two good things about FG knot is you don't break it at the knot very often, but the tag end on a Alberto on your fluorocarbon is going to go towards the eyelets on your rod. So you know how it hits the eyes. Well, the FG is the other way, so it slides through the eyes better.
Okay.
So
I need to learn how to tie the FG.
FG is just it is overall probably, better knot, but they both work.
I've had great luck with the Alberto. I've tied it since
a million times.
Yeah, but I have noticed that you hear that noise, right? Even when I'm crappie fishing, I reel that line through, and I'm going, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should retie. Maybe one of these days it's going to come back and bite me a little bit. But the FG knot, is there somebody that ties it that you can literally sit there and go, okay, after the video's over, I've got it figured out. Do you have any recommendations?
Man, it took me a while to figure out, but I found one dude on YouTube that was a saltwater guy, and there's probably a million knots, but I only can tie it a certain way, sitting in my boat or sitting down, and it's just weird. You gotta have a hard tension on both lines. Your fluorocarbon and your braid. You need to have tension on both. Where you can get it tight.
I take that back, Jordan. Is there a possibility that Scanlon or Clun knows how to tie the knot?
Scanlon, I don't know about Clun. Scanlon will know how to tie it.
Guys, this weekend.
Okay.
We're going to learn.
He needs to do a seminar. He'll know how to tie it.
He's going to do a seminar. We'll talk about it later, but we're going to corner him. We're going to figure this out.
Okay, so Rick Clun may know how to tie it. I may not give him Rick enough. Yeah, that'll be a great question. Who can tie the FG knot, and who can show us how to tie it?
Yeah.
That's a great one.
It looks like a Chinese finger trap. Whenever I see somebody tying it, it's like, oh my God.
That's kind of how it works.
Mm-hmm. I think. It's a great knot. Great knot. If you get it right, it's really good.
Cool.
But I don't even know if I tie it the right way. But the way I tie it, it works. But
there you go.
Danny's like drinking whiskey through a big giant Pop R cup or something.
I'd like to say it's whiskey, but it's not. It is kind of a big.
It does look like a Pop R.
Baby bass color.
Well, Danny, you've been quiet the whole time.
Good info.
Patiently waiting on your portion of the show.
My portion.
Your portion of your questions, and it is that time, I think.
And in the interest of time, we're going to narrow it down to just the favorite one. So, as a scoper, Mr. Lee, What is the craziest thing, most unexplainable thing, weirdest thing you've ever seen on screen in your boat?
Huh. Well, I got something that's the most recent thing comes to mind. Is so when I was in high school, I don't know why I was doing this, but we were doing it. But we had on my SUV that I had, I was probably 16, 15. So how many years ago has that been? I don't know, probably 17, 18 years ago. I was at my buddy's house on the lake, near the lake that I fish out of still today, Lake Katoma. And for whatever reason, I had a basketball goal that was the lake was down. And I was like, man, I need to drag it out here to sink it. Well, when I was doing it, just being an idiot kid, I had a rope tied to it. Well, I was dragging it on the bank, and the thing caught, the base of it caught on something, and the goal flipped up and went in the back glass of my SUV and knocked it out. Sounded like a damn gunshot. Boom! Busted the glass out of the back of the SUV. Scared me to death. I have a basketball going through my SUV. And anyway, after that, we just drug it down to the bank, threw it out there. And I was like, man, maybe we can catch fish on this one day. But I was shook because it was so loud. Well, I've never even been able to fish it or whatever. And literally, like the last time I was out there, I hadn't really had live scope on my boat that much, but I got around where and I'm like, there's the rim. I could see the rim of the basketball goal. It's like 17 years later. It's out in the lake still. There wasn't any fish on it, but it's out there. But I never have seen it, or I've actually fished around there before, and but the lake must have been way down because it's out there pretty deep. So
Cool.
yes, seeing the
good
basketball goal 17 years later.
Nice. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot more fun than some of our guests. We had a couple of guys a couple weeks in a row. I asked that same question, and they're both like, "Well, I found a body."
Gosh,
geez, I'm about half scared to ask it anymore.
Yeah. I hadn't seen anything too crazy, but yeah, that's the most recent one.
Have you heard the Brandon's story? What he found?
I don't think so.
It's crazy. I told this one today this morning at church at the men's coffee that I went to. So Brandon, somewhere on Lake Erie, was idling around looking for boulders, whatever, and ran across something cylindrical, 200 feet across. Like he went in the middle of it and set his 360 on 100 feet, and it was out to the very edges. So it's 200 feet, and it has like hallway. He put his aqua view down in the middle, and it's got like wagon wheel. It's like a wagon wheel, giant. Got like hallways down where like spokes.
Like something off Noah's Ark.
I don't know. And then he went in the middle. This is the freakiest part of the whole thing. It's in like 40 feet of water. And he went in the middle and dropped his drop shot down in the middle of the wagon wheel, the hole. And it never stopped. It unspooled in 40 feet of water, like 150 yards of line. It never stopped going down.
I can't wait for this first Elite Series tournament you guys are going to have, because
All you guys,
Mark Menendez says he's just going to absolutely maul him with questions. Like, he goes,
I mean, did he ever tell anybody about it?
He
Anybody?
said, so the first, and that's the other weird thing about it. It's the first time he found it. Yeah, he's told like Mercer and some other anglers know about it. But the very first year he found it, he caught like 22 pounds of smallmouth off of it. And he's been back like 6 times, he said, something like that to it. And he's never seen or caught another fish off of it.
but are you asking, like, does he ever tell like a government official about it? Because that's the question that I was like, so like who's got the,
Yeah, because he don't know what it is.
Yeah.
like, who's gonna go out and pull the plug on Lake Erie? I want to see it, you know. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It could be like what if it was like what if nobody's ever side scan, or what if just fishermen know about it? No, if it was a, I mean, it's obviously something from a long time ago, or a rocket, or something from space, or
Yeah.
it's probably not a boat. Maybe it is a boat, but I doubt it. He would, if it's that far along in a weird shape, it's either something from space, or
there's nothing else around it. Like if it was a boat, a shipwreck,
I mean,
and it was a piston or something, a giant piston, there'd be something else around it, I would think.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool to find out exactly what
I don't know.
we've put enough heat on Elite Series pros here recently, I think.
Justin Lucas found a piece of metal out there before.
Yeah.
And I think he won the tournament off of it. And it was something from space or something. It was not a object that was naturally in the lake.
Yeah. Well, I don't think this is either, but
now there might. I mean, it's a big. Think about how big that water, big the lake is. I mean, stuff could fall. Who knows?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Well, Jordan, man, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on and spending the time with us. And man, me personally, I wish you the best of luck in this coming season. And we always say if you win one, we'd sure like you to come back on next winter and talk about it with us, if you wouldn't mind.
Or
Absolutely.
right after you win it.
Or
Doesn't
right
have to be in the win.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, I enjoyed it, guys. I had fun talking with y'all. It's good to see John. It was nice to meet you, Kyle, and Danny too. Hadn't seen John in a long time, or it seems like a long time.
Been a while.
It's been a while, but I enjoyed it.
What's your social? What's your people want to follow you? Where do they follow you at?
Yeah, Jordan Lee Fishing. That's pretty much it. You just type in Jordan Lee, you should be able to find me pretty easy. You find that not so looking great guy with the name of Jordan Lee. You click that dude, and that's me. So,
and you may or may not have some pretty cool merchandise on there.
Yeah, merchandise has not been running super hot. We had to change suppliers and stuff, but hopefully we're gonna have it back up and running. This lake sucks. Find your own fish.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a good time with it, but I'm looking forward to the year, and appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah, we're like Kyle said. We hope you have a great year and qualify for the Classic again. And
if I win a tournament, put me in.
All right,
I'll be back on. We'll chat about it afterwards.
Sounds cool, good. Man. Perfect.
All right, boys.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Good luck, buddy.
Good seeing you.
See you.
All right.
Oh, wow. Cool. Yay.
That went pretty. I looked up and it was 2 hours almost.
Yeah.
Man, that went pretty fast.
And kind of cool, like Mark last week. He just asked a question, and 30 minutes later, you ask another question, and
Yeah. Yeah. It was good.
awesome.
It was good. He's come a long way. I can remember right after he won that first classic. I mean, he was fresh out of college, and and we had him speak at the college championship, at the national championship, at the dinner, at the banquet. Carhartt was a big sponsor back then of the college series, and he was sponsored by Carhartt, and so they brought him in and to speak. And I'll just say that he's come a long way, because he was not a great speaker, back then. He was just, like I said, he was fresh out of college, and really didn't have a lot of time to get seasoned as a speaker, and things you have to do as a classic champion, or you get to do as a classic champion, be a speaker and do more seminars, and so he's come a long ways. Proud of that kid. Good kid.
It's definitely not easy doing it. I can tell you that.
Mm-mm. No.
Awesome conversation. Some pretty good stuff too.
Yeah.
Look forward to having him back on. Maybe
It'll be good. Maybe after the classic. I mean, it's a big one. He's like I don't know if y'all follow golf at all, Annie, but he reminds me of like Brooks Koepka.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't hear from him, you don't hear from him, you don't hear from him. Bam, he wins the Masters. You don't hear from him, and then he backs it up and wins the PGA Championship. Don't hear from him. Boom, USO. The majors. He just, like, something about the major tournaments. Jordan Lee. I mean, maybe it's you're not fishing for points. You're not fishing. You're just fishing to win, and something about those tournaments.
Yeah.
He's a good one if you're ever doing fantasy and it's a classic, or it's a something that don't have points attached to it. Good one to put in there in your fantasy.
He dials it in when it means the most.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. What do we got going on? We got something going. We got this weekend. What we're going to talk about?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was going to do I'm planning on doing a short video and putting it on my Facebook. Then maybe we'll upload it to the Idle Zone Syndicate page. But we got cold weather, and it's boat show season, like I said, and got the boat show Friday and Saturday. It'll be warm in Memorial Auditorium, and we got one of the legends of the sport there that's going to spend Friday and Saturday hanging out and talking with people. It's going to be pretty exciting. He's going to do a seminar on Saturday at 12:30. There's a couple other guest speakers, usually that is actually something special this year that they're doing. Albers Marine Boat Show, 19th annual hunting and fishing show. They're doing 3 guest speakers this year. In years past, it's only been, 1, maybe 2. This year they've got Jennifer Yarborough, and the flyer says she's an accomplished outdoors woman with 15 years of hunting experience, and it's got a picture of her holding a deer that is like legitimately like it's a giant. So it'll be interesting to hear her perspective on how maybe she goes about patterning and dialing bow hunting in, and just her experiences out in the woods. She's gonna talk at 10:30 on Saturday. Following her is Casey Scanlon. he's kind of a local guy, really. Missouri, Kansas. Good on both shoals. In years past, he was in the top runnings on both shoals. He Elite Series Pro at one point, or so definitely a good regional guy. And then to top it off at 12:30, I can't say enough about him, and I'm excited to see it. Rick Clunn is going to be there, and he's going to talk at 12:30. He is confirmed he will be there both days, Friday and Saturday. But he's in the Hall of Fame. He's won 4 Bassmaster Classics. He fished 500 tournaments. I don't know what else to say about the guy.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not stealing your thunder, but watching the cast the other day, the episode with him, there was one little bit in there when he said if you counted the other circuits besides the top level bass, it was more like 1,500.
Yeah. It's just crazy to fathom that, this little old boat show that started out almost 20 years ago has got the GOAT, so it's gonna be pretty cool. Of course, there's a ton of vendors, and you can't name them all, and I'm not gonna try, but it's pretty much everything outdoors. Be a good time. Kids casting, the Kansas Bass Nation, DB, Big Bad Brad. There'll be a 3D bow shoot. You guys do the kids casting. It's pretty cool. You get some really neat giveaways. Just a little bit of everything. It's going to be in the basement Memorial Auditorium, and 2 to 7 on Friday, 9 to 6 on Saturday. Food, drink, come hang out, walk around. Might even see, the Idle Zone Syndicate guys wandering around doing some lives. I don't know.
Well, God willing, and the creek don't rise, Mr. and Mrs. Weirdo, we will be there Friday from 2 to 7 and 9 to on Saturday.
I look forward to it.
I do too.
When are the guys, Casey, and they're all on Saturday?
All on Saturday. Yeah. So starting at 10:30 and going until, could be maybe until after 1 o'clock. I'm sure Rick will be willing to answer questions, pretty much any time, but he is scheduled to start speaking at 12:30. Jennifer Yarborough is scheduled to start at 10:30. So 10:30 to 12:30 at least. Yeah. And there's, like I said, there's going to be more to come. I told Roseanne I might do something before the podcast tonight. But I'm going to do something tomorrow and just, really bear down and get specific about some of the details and put it on Facebook. So good times.
I enjoy the Pittsburgh show, the Albers show, because it's not your typical show. It's really intimate. Is that a fancy way of saying it's small? Well, kinda. But the plus side of that is that you're going to get to visit pretty much with whomever you want to visit. You go to those larger shows, Kansas City, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and you run through like cattle.
Yeah.
You look at the tables like this as you're running through like cattle. Well, it's not that way. I mean, you can stop and visit and meet the guys that are making these jigs, like Richard Fitzwater, and visit with them. And
Custom
I
painted lures.
Oh yeah.
There's more than one custom painted lure guy going to be there, and both of them are listeners of the show, which is awesome. Taxidermists, lawn ornament making people, popcorn, just pork rinds.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh wait, is it the ones from Bronson?
Yes.
Oh, those are so good. Perry's.
Yeah. Perry's pork rinds. So
I saw a post on Albers about some barbecue and beer or something.
That's on Friday from 4 to 7.
Yeah. And see, you're going to get me into this, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think it was brats and beer from 4 to 7 on Friday.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a good time. Like Danny, like you said, it's just is it a redneck way of saying it's, a little bit smaller of a show? Yeah, but it fills Memorial Auditorium up. I promise you.
Definitely.
I've never been, so I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, the city, I could get into a big rant, but we used to be in the mall.
Yeah. I remember that.
We used to be in the Armory down by the YMCA. I say we because I've been hanging around the Albers crew for a long time now, but they outgrew it, So good times.
So how about a little viewer mail?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So here at the Barrett Ranch on the west side of Hutchinson, we get the mail at like 6:30, between 6:30 and 7 every night. Well, just about 10 minutes before we went on, I walked out, got the mail. I got a package from viewer Matt Noth. Well, he's a Sandhills member and also a darn good fisherman, but he has sent me a lucky charm. And the note says, Danny, here is your fish catching lucky charm for 2025. Take it fishing every time you go. Because who knows better how to catch fish than Sasquatch? It has to eat something. Well, very true. So I unwrapped it. And I have my own little Sasquatch Christmas ornament. He's got a bell.
Amazing.
And this will be in my bibs every time I get in the boat this year. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
That's great.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very classy.
So
this is highbrow.
Are we going to do it seems like a couple weeks back we were talking about after the show. Are we going to do anything? We're going to invite watchers, listeners. What are we doing?
Well, let's figure it out. We talked about it. Kiki and I have this tradition of doing this on Friday night. Kiki, I'm going to play my old man card here and tell you that I can't do it 2 nights in a row. So we're
I'm scared what you're going to say.
well, no, we usually on Friday night before the show, we go out and get something to eat with their wives and possibly have a few adult beverages, and
That's really what it's all about. Just,
that's,
you
that's
know,
it. What are we going to do that Saturday?
absolutely not.
No.
I say that because Emily has already acquired a babysitter for Friday night.
Oh, okay. Well,
Friday night it is.
Is
okay.
that? I hope that's okay.
I'll twist my arm.
It takes some pre-task planning on our part.
I get it.
Do this
And
kind of thing, and so we shall announce at the show where we will be after Friday's festivities. How about that?
cool.
Because we might change venues.
Cool.
Thinking maybe the pit.
Well, that was the last thing I saw.
Maybe the pit on Friday night.
Yeah,
We could go to a family friendly place Saturday. Maybe. See how it goes when we get down there.
yeah. We'll see.
When I get down there.
To find out all the details, we'll post it right on this link right here on screen on the Idle Zone Syndicate page.
Nicely done, Mr. Crank.
So you can pause it when we get done with the live and go like that page. And
That's why-
also,
That's why
you're going to go here and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Help us
There
grow
you
it. So
touchdown.
like and subscribe.
I like it.
So
One more time on the times of the show. And
Friday 2 to 7. Saturday 9 to 6.
Memorial Auditorium, 503 North Pine. It's a block off of Broadway, 1 block north of 4th Street. So 4th Street is the main east-west going through the middle of Pittsburgh. Broadway is the main north-south road going through the middle of Pitt. 1 block to the north of 4th and 1 block to the west of Broadway, and you will be there. If you see the boats in the street and the barricades, you have made it. Come
and
see us.
David Deffenbaugh said remind everybody it's a free show.
It is a free show, and that is a very good reminder, and that is on a note that Roseanne told me to that is a note that Roseanne told me to make sure and broadcast, as it is a free show, and anybody's welcome.
Well, we or I, one of the two, will be there. We probably, if it's we, it'll be after Valerie gets off work. So it'll be probably just before the show ends on Friday.
cool.
And we're not going to spend the night. So I'll come back up Saturday probably. We have to take Bree. We have to lend Bree our car because her rental car ran out and they're not done with her car from the body shop from it being stolen. And so she had to turn in her rental car, and I tried to give her Old Red, the truck, but she didn't want Old Red for some reason. So she's getting Val's car, and we got to take it up there at some point because the rental car ends Friday. So
Oh, adulting is so much fun.
yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you're if you're a praying bunch, keep her in your prayers because she's got some big changes coming up in her life. I know she's diving in pretty deep into her design firm. And if you're looking for design something, make sure you reach out to Bree. cedarandstone.com. Shameless plug, but she's going to need business. So,
Absolutely. There are no shameless plugs.
yeah.
Speaking of plugs, I forgot to put this up all night on the right-hand corner.
And that was the other plug I wanted to give. Kit, many of you know Kit Lewig, designer. He designed our logos. We have a couple of them to choose from, and he did that for us very reasonably. So we want to thank Kit for that. And if you're looking for any kind of design, graphic design, he's your guy. He did that in like an afternoon, so it didn't take.
And there was not just the two that we got. It was, he sent us a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, a bunch to pick from. So I want to thank him for that. Brandon Ackerson's asking how many tackle vendors are going to be there, Kyle.
I can't see all the comments, but Brandon, there's, we've lured in some people to come just for the used tackle and new tackle. We've got a pretty decent fall. I say we because I sell some used tackle also, not much, but some. My team partner sells his entire basement full of used tackle.
He said he's selling everything. Bring cash.
Yeah, he sells
or cigars.
All the. If you're just milling around and not doing anything, I think you'd be crazy not to come up and just hang out for an hour or two, because it'd definitely be worth your while. And there's always new tackle. You can, there's new tackle there, but there's a lot of good used tackle as well. So I'll just leave it to that. But I look forward to seeing you at the show, Brandon.
All righty. I think we've covered everything.
Thanks.
They didn't have a winter series jackpot Saturday. It was too cold. I don't blame them.
Becomes a safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
It was 0 degrees on my way to work this morning.
That's it?
Lucky?
Yeah.
It was negative 10 up here.
Yeah.
And the BFL is on Grand Lake on February 8th. Boy, just good job, guys. That's really awesome.
It's liable to be 60 degrees.
It actually, funny you would say that. They were talking tonight at 6:00 about the first week of February around here being in the 50s and 60s. So
there you go.
I've already lost all optimism. Don't get me started on it. I think it's crazy to have a BFL on February 8th. We don't need to be fishing in the winter.
I beg to differ.
So if you're going to schedule a tournament,
we need more tournaments. We should be starting this week.
Well, yeah, I get where you're coming from, Mr. Stewart. My hands and my feet say otherwise.
I just had an idea. Well, you may have heard it. It hit the one side of my brain. Something rattled. Yeah. So we've got this casting deal for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
We could perhaps commandeer some of those materials and try out the Matt Heron Top Golf Top Fishing.
We're just gonna need you to dress up as a fish.
Speaking
Yes.
of
And
speaking of that, speaking of Matt Heron's idea, has anybody watched TGL Golf?
I haven't
Yeah.
had the opportunity to yet.
Not
It's-
yet, no.
It's awesome.
I watched Tiger Woods tee off,
It is awesome.
and I can get into that. I can't get into the real thing, but I can watch Tiger Woods hit it against a tarp.
It is a cool deal. It's all simulated. It's simulated team golf, and they're jabbing each other, and the crowd is cheering while they're hitting, and they did it right. It's cool.
Climate
It-
controlled.
It is cool. They tee off of real grass, and they hit off of real grass and real sand. If they hit it in the sand, they hit off this square patch of real grass when they're teeing off. And if it goes in the rough, they've got fairway grass, they've got rough grass, and they've got sand. If they hit it in the rough, they hit their next shot out of this rough grass. And if they hit it in the sand, they hit the next shot out of sand. And then when they get on the green, there's one green inside this building, but it's got mechanical stuff underneath it, and it rotates. So
Yeah, it's impressive.
So every hole, the green is different, and it matches what's on the screen that they're hitting to. It's cool. It's a cool deal. But it reminded me of Matt Heron's idea because it's basically the same thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Adult flipping contest for a guest spot on the Idle Zone.
Okay.
That is a hell of an idea for the boat show.
That is a good idea. Where do we do that?
We do that in unison with the kids casting.
Okay.
I will provide the flipping stick and the jig.
Okay.
And I'm not kidding about that
You've
swept fishing. I'm not kidding about that swept fishing. I know it's good because I've been there and it's outstanding.
What are you
Well,
talking about?
I'm just replying to the comments that were made a little bit earlier before we go out.
What comment was that? I missed it.
The February fishing's great.
Oh, at Swepco?
Oh, I think he was referring to Grand, but
I mean, it's good right now, I guess, if you're on it, if you know where they're at. I mean,
if you're an Eskimo,
I went the other day, but it was 60 degrees. And I didn't fish much, but I haven't had the boat in the water since November, so I'm a little out of touch with where the fish are.
he said, Brandon Ackerson says February fishing separates the men from the boys. I mean, I
That's
have
true.
to agree with that statement.
I mean, the first ABA is
20
like 2 weeks after that.
I know.
I'm kind of hoping that one snowed out.
I just don't really want to get into it.
Hey, folks,
All righty.
come see us this weekend. I will be in Pittsburgh from 2 to 7 on Friday and 9 to on Saturday. Kyle will be there.
You got something in the middle of the day that you're not gonna. I mean, you're gonna be there in the evening. So why do you?
Oh, that's right. Oh, there's a ball game.
Oh. Well, if Hunter doesn't start manning up, I may not watch him much more. He's frustrating. Yes, I know he had 25 points, but he should have had 40.
Agreed. They're kids.
He's not a kid. He's like a grandpa.
He is 24.
Wow. Real old.
Hey,
Uh,
folks, I apologize for the start of the show when I had to redo everything that I do with my equipment. I don't have a clue what's going on over here. We switched hosting the podcast from my internet to Crank's internet, and I had the same issue. So I don't know what's up. We'll have to figure that out. But as always, thanks for watching. Great show. Who do we have next week?
oh, almost forgot. We got 2 non-scopers in a row. Some people may not know this guy. Came through the Bass Nation, Mr. Caleb Sumrall.
Cool.
Awesome.
Very cool.
He'll be a good guest.
Fished against him on Gunnersville, I think.
Yep, he'll be good. He's
Cool.
got a pretty neat story. Pretty
Definitely.
neat story how he got through to the nation and won that tournament. That's a neat story. So it'll be a good one, I think.
Absolutely. See
Oh,
y'all
And next week, 7 o'clock.
Take us
Yep.
out here, Mr. Crank.